We've all felt it. The sweaty palms and pits, a pounding heart, dry mouth, trembling knees, a sense of impending doom. Yep, it's your sympathetic nervous system putting you on high alert. But did you know there's an opposite system that steps in to return things to normal? Our parasympathetic nervous system. It's what we'll be talking about today with my yogi guests, Heidi Kroft and Candace Lee. They know a thing or two about soothing our exhausted nerves. So let the soothing start now. Welcome to the Youthful Older Yogi Podcast. I'm MJ Waddell, your yogi host and founder of Share Yoga. I've been practicing, teaching, and loving yoga for over 25 years. I'm an advocate of movement, creativity, and staying healthy in mind and body after 50. And so are my guests. It's never too late to start, and there's a lot of healthy years ahead. So let's start now. I'm MJ. Most of you know me, but maybe you don't. I'm the creative founder of Share Yoga. I've got a few friends I'm excited to introduce. They'll be joining us in a bit. They know a thing or two about the nervous system. That's what we'll be talking about today. Our nervous system and how you can make it not so nervous. And I'm glad this is the first topic because my nervous system right now is pretty messed up. You might hear some adult language in here too. So if you have sensitive ears, just tune it out or put your headphones on. So the two friends I've got coming today, one is Candace Lee. Some of you know Candace. She's based out of her studio, Penfield, New York, is where she teaches. So Candace will be joining us in a little bit. She is a yoga teacher and also a trauma-informed coach. And she's also an oiler, which we'll get to a little later. I'm so happy she's here. And we'll be talking with her in depth in just a minute. And I'm also really happy to welcome my good friend, Heidi Kroft. Many of you know her. If you're from Rochester, you probably know Heidi. So Heidi Kroft, there's the beautiful Heidi. I'm not sure where that picture is taken, but it looks lovely. Also a yoga teacher, fabulous cook, fabulous friend. She does so much. She also works with Judith Hanson Lasater, and we'll talk about that, as her assistant, and really knows a lot about restorative yoga, which is so beneficial to our nervous system. So, and she has some other amazing talents we'll talk about a bit later. So I just wanted to also share, my nervous system is pretty on high alert right now. I'm trying to not reveal the shake in my voice. My mouth is completely dry. I have no secretion in my nose. So today we're really talking about the nervous system, and we all have one. And I know for me, mine has been on overdrive for quite a bit. So here's the 101 on the nervous system. What's the central nervous system? Here it is. It controls everything you do, including your breathing, your walking, your thinking, your feeling. It's made up of your brain and spinal cord and all the nerves of your body. So check out all those nerves just in the face. I think there's billions and billions of nerves in your body. So the brain is the control center and the spinal cord is the major highway. So this central nervous system needs kindness. Yeah. So, all right. So that's what the nervous system is. And today we're going to be talking mostly about the parasympathetic nervous system. But first you have to learn the opposite of that, which is the sympathetic nervous system. So what is that? Meet Sticky. Here's Sticky. So Sticky is he's in high alert right now. And the sympathetic nervous system, it's when you're in that fight or flight mode, kind of the way I felt when I pressed record for this series. So the heart rate increases, his pupils are dilated, his digestion has stopped, he has no nasal secretions or saliva, right? His major organs, liver, kidneys, gallbladder, they all stop. He's probably sweating, and he has piloerection. Now, piloerection is not what you think. It's the hairs when the hairs stand up on your head. So that was a new word I learned, piloerection. So use it properly or not. And also your muscle strength increases because you're ready to run away from the threat. So that's what the sympathetic nervous system is. And I know we've all felt it some way in one situation or many, or maybe we feel it daily, right? That high anxiety, stress feeling. So the parasympathetic nervous system is this, exactly the opposite. So there's Miss Kitty, like having a relaxing weekend. And so the parasympathetic nervous system, it's when you rest and digest, everything is healing, it's in harmony, everything's working continuously. You're resting, you're healing, digesting, your heart rate, blood, blood pressure, everything's even. So that's what we're going to talk about today, and how restorative yoga activates the parasympathetic nervous system. Good, thank you. So that was the little 101 on the nervous system. And now let's welcome finally our guests, Candace and Heidi, so they can start turning on their face and their video, and we can say hello to Heidi and Candace. There's Candace. And there's Heidi. Yes, so these are my two fabulous guests today. I'm so happy that they're both here. Many of you know them. I'm going to start with you, Candace. So, well, again, thank you for oh Lord, yeah. So her nervous system is on high alert now. So thank you for sharing your time and your knowledge. I really appreciate it. So Candace, you are a yoga teacher and you are a trauma-informed coach.
Correct.
So I was not familiar with what that is or what it does. And so when people ask you what you do, how do you respond?
Respond in a lot of different ways, depending on who's doing the asking. But as far as this is concerned here, I teach you how to read your own body. That in a nutshell, that in a simple form, that's basically what it is. We just mentioned the nervous system and how it has control over everything. So if you are on a path of healing or growing or trying to shift something within your body, what better way than to get to know the part that runs the show type of thing. So basically, the taking the time to get to know that part that holds such vital information, understand how it works, why it's working the way it's working, and then building off of that.
That's awesome. Thank you for explaining that in a nutshell. It's great. I know it's more, involved in that. But another question is, how do you know if you need it? And are there certain signs?
Yes. So while we can sit here and list out, a million and one things, such as distraction or spinning or noticing that your mouth is dry or chronic cases of worries and fears and things like that, we can list on and on. It doesn't necessarily, I also have to throw out there, I am not a medical professional. This is coming from the space of yoga and understanding coaching and that sort of thing. But and understanding my own experiences to share with you. I believe, my opinion is that you need it if you're looking for a change, you're looking to shift something in your life. If you've perhaps tried X, Y, and Z, and you're in the space of, hey, nothing's working. If you know that you can't put your finger on something, but something's just not quite right. These are some pieces.
So intuitively, would you say most people know intuitively if something's not right, and they may have never heard of this type of healing modality? So it could be something that they would, possibly research.
That's pretty loaded, because that they might just notice constantly lashing out at a partner or something like that, but absolutely have no idea what's really going on behind it, that sort of thing. So being disconnected from that intuitive space, it might be a little snippet of your intuition coming in saying, hey, something's not quite right.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you for all that information. We're going to talk more about it in a little bit. Heidi, I want to shift to you. Again, thank you for being here. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Heidi was the first person I reached out to about this. It was a couple months ago. And I said, I've got this idea. And she was like, just fucking do it. Let's do it. And
run with it, baby.
That's it. So she is very instrumental, and she's always been such a great support. Heidi, my very first Share Yoga event was with Heidi 9 years ago. And from that, I launched Share Yoga. And from that, she launched her Sunset Yoga, which she teaches outside. It's starting in 2 weeks up there in Webster. And so now we're launching yet another thing together. So
I love it. It's great.
I feel a positive pattern happening here. So Heidi, could you share with our viewers and our listeners a little bit more about restorative yoga and why it is so important?
So first of all, if any of you know me, you know that the last thing I would have ever thought would have been something I was looking at would be to slow down. I don't slow down. I just keep going faster and faster. And 10 years ago, when I found yoga, it was life-changing and put such a different spin on how I not only viewed myself, but my relationships and everything else. And just touching on what Candace had said regarding being in tune with where you are when you're trying to figure things out. I'm positive that if I hadn't started, so now my push, instead of, hey, let's get on our mat, let's go do something. Now it's like, hey, let's do nothing. Let's get together and just be quiet and be still and give our nervous systems a chance to reset. For as much as my life was spinning faster and faster, everybody's lives are spinning faster and faster. And a lot of it we don't have control over. But taking ourselves out of that and putting ourselves in a restorative pose or just sitting quietly and getting to know what we're feeling, it's monumental with being able to function in this chaotic world. So that's my 2 cents on the connections between learning to understand yourself and how restorative yoga can possibly help with that.
Right. Yes.
First of all, Judith Hanson Lasater, she is 73 right now, I think. She started when she was in college and she did the same thing you did, MJ. She was just, I think I'll go try this class. And her teacher was BKS Iyengar.
Yes, yes.
And so she is as close to a guru as we're going to get in this world today. And she loved it. And it went right along with her physical therapy learnings because she was in college. So she's a physical therapist by trade, but definitely known as the queen of restorative yoga in the West, if nowhere else. She's been able to, I stood with her one day and we were talking and I kept doing this, I was talking to her like this, and she put her hands on my arms and she says, "Why are your arms crossed?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I'm just standing here talking to you." She goes, "That's so closed off." She goes, "Are you nervous?" I'm like, "Well, yeah, I'm nervous. I'm in the presence of Judith Hanson Lasater." She's like, "Take a breath and drop your arms." She goes, "I want the rest of our time together, every time you speak or you go to interact with somebody, I want you to put your arms down intentionally." So I would be open to receiving and I would be open to sharing. And all these little nuggets that she shares along the way just kept, they didn't grip. They just hit me in the head with a hammer going, this makes so much sense to me. This is exactly what I've needed to slow down, to learn how to open up, to learn to listen. So she's got a way about her that also reminds me of my mom. She's short and a little squishy and she's a fireball. And I just want to hug her every time I see her. So I just have this, emotional connection, this professional connection. And she's not like talking to a superstar where you have to be intimidated. You can email her and she'll email you back. And it's a great way to further my education because I'm not afraid to jump in with both feet. I'm not afraid to try something I've never tried. And it all comes back to my breath. So that nervous system that's getting crazy and tornadoing out of control, when I start to internalize and breathe and come back to what's going on right in here, oh my goodness, I'm right back in the moment and I can handle it.
Yeah.
So Judith is instrumental in everything that I do now.
Yes. Lovely. Well, I always say, sometimes yoga just finds you, right? You don't have to I wasn't searching for it. It just found me. It was just a fluke. So thank you for sharing that. We're going to talk about how now we can actually activate our parasympathetic nervous system. I will tell you that restorative yoga, also when I was younger, restorative yoga for me was like, it's not a workout. I'm not just going to lie there and do nothing. I can't shut my brain off. So all the typical things that we hear, I think as we get older and more youthful, remember, we are youthful older yogis. I hate the word old. I just don't like it. But when I was younger, it was just like, I just want to do asana. I just want to do the poses. I just want to sweat. I just want to, and that's what yoga was to me then, and still is to me on certain days. But many days, it's just, I need to slow down, chill out, just like Heidi said, feel what I'm feeling instead of just go, 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 do, push, push, push. So the restorative, I ended up teaching it without really practicing it. So I had to actually practice it before I could teach it. And that was a whole new ball of wax. And now I'm telling you, if you've ever taken a yoga class and you've done Shavasana, Shavasana is the end where you lay down. It's called corpse pose. You just lay down for, hopefully at least 5 minutes, and you just absorb, and you're just still. And a lot of people run out of the room because they don't want to do it. They don't want to stay still. And that is the most important part of the practice. That's when your nervous, the heads are shaking. Yes, that's when your nervous system gets a fucking break. Just let it have a break. So we're going to talk a little bit more about restorative and how you can actually activate your parasympathetic nervous system. So Candace, you have a little exercise called 5 things, or I'm not sure of the.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
We're going to launch this right here. And if you could, Candace, elaborate a little bit on this exercise, and then we're going to try it together.
All right. Again, not shells. I'm trying to keep it short and simple. It's a tool. It's another tool to add to your collective list of your breath works and your yoga practices and your walks and everything else that helps to bring you to a center. It helps to bring you into a space of what I call self-regulation. It's presence. When you're noticing yourself and you're out there and you've got all those signs, it's fast. It's fast. Bring it back so that you can get back on track to solving or engaging in whatever it is that's in front of you.
Great. So it's pretty simple, right? 5 things: what you can see, what you can feel, touch, what you can hear, what you can taste or smell, and one thing you're grateful for.
I think this is fabulous to be able to have all these different tools, because it makes us slow down, and depending on where we are at a certain moment will depend on what tools we need to pull from our toolbox.
Right. And Heidi, that's so true, because so many times we're just like, we're completely reactive. And that's when the nervous, because, somebody could cut you off in traffic, and immediately your nervous system just goes, right?
Yep.
And so this little tool, instead of, and then just recognizing that that's what's happening. You're right. It's so imperative. And Heidi, do you have any specific tools that you use?
So I love the list that Candace just put up, because it's taking a moment to just become reflective internally. So you're seeing, you're acknowledging, you're hearing, you're listening, and finding something to be grateful for. And it doesn't mean, because I love restorative so much, I know sometimes it's like when I discovered oils. You got to listen to my spiel on this is going to change your life. And sometimes I feel that way about restorative, but I'm learning that there's so many other tools that can go with it. It's not just, hey, let's put our feet up the wall for 20 minutes and that's going to cure everything. If you do it every single day, it's going to cure everything. That's not the case. Every day, that no matter what you're feeling, wherever your restorative or wherever your central nervous system takes you, for me, I think the best overall tool, wherever you start, is always going to come back to your breath. Mm-hmm. So the minute you start to breathe and you start to settle, your central nervous system takes that cue, and it'll start to release that sympathetic fight, flight, freeze. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And, for me, the ultimate to activate the parasympathetic would be a restorative pose. But all these other things, because if you're driving down the road and you get caught off, you don't have time to go, let me just go into a reclining supported pose. I'll just put the seat back and just sit here for a few minutes until I calm down before I say something I don't want to say. But let's face it, we're all human. We have emotional responses. That's my take on that.
Yeah, I get you. Awesome. And Candace, do you think, like in the past, well, of course, the past 3 years have been so, unprecedented, and all the whole COVID and the pandemic and everything. So there's so many people that are still in that clutch.
Yes.
And have you felt that there's more people coming to you for assistance to lessen that clutch?
Oh, absolutely. And a part of it is moving out of isolation back into the connection.
Yes.
In that simplest way. We can't do this alone.
Yeah, and how do people, because I'm working with that myself, making myself get out, because I've been isolated and I'm making myself go out now. Do you have any tools? Like, how would you just step out the door?
You do what you can first. It comes back to the nervous system. It comes back to what feels safe in your body. What's that step? Is it using technology and FaceTiming or getting on Zoom or picking up the phone? It's whatever connection. It can be connection with nature. It can be connection with a pet, that sort of thing. But it's imperative. We are biologically wired for connection. But yes, this past 3 years has put a huge halt on that. And in essence, terrifying our nervous system.
Yeah.
What do we trust? What do we trust? Can we do it? Well, we do what you can until you can do a pinch more,
That's a great tool. Thank you, Candace, for that. That's so great. I'm going to use it because it's very, very doable and easy.
It's very, very helpful. Yes.
Yeah. And Heidi, I want to share another one of your talents with our listeners. If you don't know, Heidi's an amazing cook. And if any of you have had the pleasure of tasting any of her culinary delights, you know what I'm talking about. She loves cooking, and some of you have been to Croft Castle before and know what I'm talking about. So Heidi, I want to ask you, when you are cooking, when you're in that zone, is your nervous system like completely are you relaxed?
Yes and no, depending on why I'm doing the cooking. It's been a while, I'm going to be honest. I mean, when COVID hit, and all of my family moved home, there was a need for the cooking, and it was a lot of cooking, and it was fun. And then over time, other people chipped in and did different things, and that was great. And it took the pressure off. What is it, 3 years later? I'm literally just starting to get back into it again, because I would say maybe about a year ago, I lost interest. And it's like, everything else in the world, something can throw you off your game. And if you're not paying attention, you might continue to go that way when really you would love to go back and get back on your path, but you don't know how.
Right.
There was nobody around. And I thought, it's Friday night, I'm going to cook. Now, there was a time I'd be like, oh my God, it's Friday night, I'm going out. Where's the music? Who can I hook up with and have a couple of cocktails and enjoy Friday night? It's the end of the week. I can let my hair down and go. And instead I was like, I want to cook. And I prepped and had everything in order, ready to go. And I turned on some great music. One of my favorites is the soundtrack from Under the Tuscan Sun. It completely channels I want to feed the world. I have finally gotten out of, here's my recipe, and this is what I have to do in order to make this dinner. Now I'm just like, oh, that sounds good. Oh, I think I'm going to add that. Oh, I don't like that. I'm not going to do that. Well, we'll see what happens with this. So yesterday's creations ended up being chicken enchiladas with a homemade green verde sauce. I'm channeling my roots for those of you that don't know. And then I made queso fondito, which I've never even thought of making. And it's literally 2 ingredients, and it was better than what we had at Holy Tequila down in Hilton Head. So I'll be making that on football Sundays, but maybe not every Sunday because it's not the healthiest dip. But it was very calming and very soothing. And I remembered to do the dishes along the way. So when I was done, I had a clean kitchen.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is what cooking is, or cooking and cleaning is for when I'm doing restorative yoga. When I need to just find some time, I put myself in a restorative pose. Yesterday, I needed to cook, and it was just as soothing to me as putting my legs up the wall.
Right. Exactly. So that's the point, really. It's like you don't have to have a million props and things like that to calm your nervous system. You could go for a walk, you could cook, you could get on oil, you could, pet your dog or whatever. It's discovering what you love, embracing it,
and sitting with it. You know, I didn't have to really do anything yesterday other than make one thing. I ended up making 3 or 4, but I also had, you know, all day, I had hours and it just kind of flowed. Sometimes it doesn't flow.
Right. And sometimes you just don't, you feel like I don't have the time. And that's when the minute you say that, I don't have the time to stop, that's when you are just, in my opinion, doing a disservice to yourself, where you can go in the bathroom for 5 minutes and close the door, and you can take, or 2 minutes, whatever it is, or take 5 deep breaths. Just starting there is a great way to, because people say, I don't have time to do nothing. But it's not.
We have to make time to do nothing. And honestly, if you have an Apple Watch, you've got a meditation app right on your Apple Watch that you can set and it'll remind you to breathe for 1 minute. It's not a lot.
Yeah. Another very doable thing. And that's great. Also, I wanted to share that Heidi knows that I'm not a great cook. And I one time asked, I'm going to a party. I usually make deviled eggs because I make great deviled eggs, but I'm sick of it. So I'm going to share this recipe with y'all now. This is the recipe that Heidi shared with me. It's her lentil bruschetta dip. I'm telling you, if you're not a cook, you've got to just do this. It's three ingredients, and all you do is pour it in. It's like, and then you show up, you get some crackers with it, you show up, and people think you're amazing, that you're a good cook. And I'm like, thank you. So I still make it. It's lovely. It's vegan. It's just amazing.
Well, it's vegan if you leave the cheese out. Otherwise, it's vegetarian.
Okay. All right. Yes. Well, then it's vegetarian because I don't leave the cheese out. And I want to encourage all of you. We're going to share with you all of the links and contacts for Heidi and Candace, myself, and Andrea. Please go on to both of their websites. Heidi's website has some beautiful, you have recipes on there, right, Heidi?
Yes, I do.
And the beautiful pictures. She's got travel photos, recipes. She has some beautiful articles that she's written. It's lovely. And Candace, please go visit CandaceLeeYoga.com. Her website, again, lovely. The articles she's written, they're lovely. And also I wanted to talk about, she's an oiler, which I didn't really know that term. So can you explain to our listeners what an oiler is?
Sure. It's a name we call ourselves if you're obsessed with essential oils. It just kind of was this coin name. So of course, my favorite, I do have a specific brand that I like, but I got into essential oils years ago. Again, when I started noticing certain things weren't working, and I'm like, something's got to change. So I'm like, okay, experiment. We're going to try this, we're going to try that. And now I've got these little bottles all over the place. So, I've got diffuser going back there. They're in my cabinets. They're in the bathroom, in the kitchen, and, they're whatever. And as far as the nervous system goes, you and I had talked previous, and maybe I'm jumping here.
Can you recommend one oil that makes you feel 10 to 20 years younger? Or maybe just relaxed. How about what's your go-to oil that makes you
Right. My personal go-to right now, and it changes, is a blend called Release.
Okay. Great.
Yes.
And Andrea, can you just pop up? I want to show what a restorative pose looks like. And there's Candace. Now, how lovely and indulgent does that look, right? So yes, she's got props. There's a block, a yoga block, and a bolster, some blankets. But it's a sideline pose here. And Candace, can you just tell us what's happening here? It looks like nothing's happening, but go ahead and tell the people what is actually happening here.
That just happens to be one of my favorites. I know when I'm a little dysregulated, that just feels good in my body. I like to get that. There's a little slight rotation going on in the physical sense in my torso. So much more you can do with this shape, and Heidi can absolutely get into that. It's just calming. It's
Yeah,
coming.
it's
one
so what
shape.
restorative is, it's supported. So you're in, this is actually a yoga pose, right? It's a yoga pose, but it's completely supported. So your muscles don't have to hold anything, and you can actually move into quiet relaxation. Is it easy to close your mind off? Absolutely not. But this is where the practice is. It's learning and observing yourself relaxing. Would you say that, Heidi?
Yes, this when you're on your side, it's a very nurturing pose because you're kind of curving your body around itself and you're curled up in a little ball like you were when you were in the womb. It's a fetal position. And it's very good for PTSD. It helps with the depletion of your nervous system. It helps with pure exhaustion because once you get curled up and everything is supported and you have a blanket over the top of you, you can literally stay in this pose anywhere from 20 to 40 minutes. And it's not that you fall asleep. It's not that it's a nap time, but you're just letting your body come into this wonderful place of safety and relaxation.
Yeah, yeah, great. I have one final question for each of you that you don't know that I was going to ask. So, Candace, I'll start with you. So get your oils ready if you're nervous. Typically, we're asked, with all that we've known and learned up to now, what would we have told our younger selves? But I want to reframe that question. And with everything that you've learned, the knowledge and the wisdom for 5+ decades, knowing now what you know, what would you like to tell your future self?
Oh, my future self?
Yes.
Interesting. It's kind of it's a flip. My
Yeah.
future. Yeah, normally we do future self talking to the younger self. Wow, you flipped it around. Probably I trust you.
Awesome. Yeah, simple. All right, awesome. And Heidi, same thing. What would you, knowing everything you know now, and what would you like to tell your future self?
Probably to just stick with it.
Right.
To not to give up.
Yes, lovely. I love both of those answers. And for our viewers, you can think about that for yourselves. What would you like to tell your future self? And impart that wisdom before you screw up. I guess, I don't know. And we all will. But I want to thank both of you so much for I'm so grateful to connect with both of you to share about the nervous system. Remember that Candace does a 1 hour, I think it's a 1 hour complimentary consultation. Yep, so you can go on to that. Heidi's Sunset Yoga starts in 2 Mondays.
2 weeks. First Monday of it starts on Monday, the first Monday of June at 7:30.
And how do people find out about Sunset Yoga?
There's a private group on Facebook that you can request to join. Just search Sunset Yoga at the Lake. And we practice right in Webster Park.
What I will ask you is that you can go to my website and subscribe, Share Yoga with MJ at offeringtree.com, and subscribe so I can keep you informed of some free stuff, some stuff that you might be interested in. And coming up next week, we have Sarah Webb. We'll be talking about uniting passions. So she has united yoga with her writing, and it's going to be so amazing. And then our third in the series will be with Terry Orr and Sherry Simpson. We'll be talking about nourishing the body with yoga and food, and how we combine that. Candace and Heidi, do you have anything you'd like to say before we sign off?
No.
I thought this was wonderful. I think it was a great idea. I can't wait to see your other 2 sessions and all the rest that you're going to be doing, because you're doing a great job, MJ.
Thank you.
We miss you here in Rochester, so thank God for Zoom.
I may come up. Maybe if the stars align. My 45th class reunion is in August, so we'll see if I can make it up there.
I will say one thing for those of you that think, oh, I can't do restorative yoga because it's just not active enough. Technically, restorative yoga is active relaxation, so you are being active by learning to relax.
Yes, and you know what? How many people all the time say, "Oh, I just need to relax." And then they're like, Well, if you're saying that, then definitely you need it.
And here's another little secret. Once you get into it, especially a restorative shavasana, you do levitate. And I can't explain it, and you're never going to understand it unless you do it yourself.
That's right. That is exactly right. That you're in that restorative pose, you got some oils, maybe you got an eye bag on. I'm telling you, it's like going to a spa. It's like going to a spa for free is what restorative is.
It's amazing.
So, and Sherry says, I'd love to levitate. I love it. Thank you again very, very much. Please visit my website, Share Yoga with MJ at offeringtree.com. And hope to see you on the next one. Heidi, thank you. Candace, thank you. Thank you so very much. I love you. Take care and keep sharing yoga.
Love you.
Love you too. Bye-bye. Thanks so much for listening. You can find me and subscribe for more youthful and healthy information on my website, shareyogawithmj.offeringtree.com. Or if you know how to navigate social media, find me on Facebook /Mary Jane Waddell. That's Jane with a Y, Jayne, and Instagram at Mary Jane Waddell. Remember, Jane with a Y. Now, this podcast would not be possible without my youthful older producer, editor, and creative friend, Andrea Canning. And you can find Andrea at Andrea Canny, that's CANNY.com. And of course, thanks to my generous guests who've shared their time and youthful wisdom. Remember, the Youthful Older Yogi podcast is presented solely for educational, inspirational, and entertainment purposes. It's not intended as a substitute for a physician or other qualified professionals. Okay, yogis, stay well and stay youthful.